this the end of the Warriors dynasty? I don't know if I'm going that far, but one thing's for sure, the Warriors are in trouble. Sitting at 4 games under 500 halfway through the season, nothing short of a mid-season trade is salvaging this year's title run. But here's the problem, is the Warriors front office even willing to make a win-now move with how bad the teams looked? I don't know. Here's the latest insight on where the Warriors stand going into the February 8th trade deadline via Adrian Wojnarowski.
This roster, when we look at where the Warriors are at in the standings, how are they thinking about moving forward?
Well, listen, I think Golden State is open to listening on everybody on that roster except one player. You know who the one player is. But this isn't as simple as there's a player we like, here's a deal that maybe makes us better in the short term. The salary cap has such an impact on anything Golden State's going to do at the trade deadline. They're going to have to start getting salary off moving forward with the new collective bargaining agreement. There's a $190 million threshold. And that if they don't do it now at the deadline, and they don't want to do it in the summer, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you in attaching draft picks to get money off. And I think right now for Golden State, if you don't look at this team and say, we think we can be a championship team, we're willing to go into that second apron, where you all of a sudden, you can't use your mid-level exception. Trades are impossible to make. You lose your draft picks. All of these things because we have a team with Steph Curry, Durant, Clay. We'll just keep going. Well, if you're not that, that's the question Golden State has for itself. And
the Warriors' decision makers are in a tough spot. They're going to have to figure out if this Warriors core is even still good enough to warrant sacrificing young players and future assets in order to make a win-now move for a core that up to this point hasn't proved they're anywhere close to being one move away from title contention. Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy is reportedly using these next few weeks leading up to the trade deadline to evaluate whether they should go all in for one more move or punt the season and pivot to cost-effective moves to better manage their salary cap situation going into next year and beyond. And most importantly, ducking that punitive second tax apron. But in order to convince the front office to go all in, the core of Steph, Clay, and Draymond has about 3 weeks before the trade deadline to prove to the front office they're still capable of competing. Well, the recent L against Memphis wasn't necessarily the best way of instilling confidence in the front office to make that move. This is by far the worst loss of the season. The Warriors got packed up in embarrassing fashion by the Grizzlies G League team. With no Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Steven Adams, or Marcus Smart, the only recognizable player on the court for Memphis was Jaren Jackson Jr. And yet, Golden State still managed to find a way to lose. This was a game you had to win, no excuses, and they got run off the court by Jaren Jackson and the boys. It's no easy nights in the league these days. After this inexcusable loss, this season's bordering on disaster territory. Which brings me back to my original point, only a trade is salvaging this season. And with Pascal Siakam off the board after getting traded to the Pacers, I'm not seeing too many other real difference makers left on the trade market. Out of the other names the Warriors have been linked to, there is one player I think can be intriguing for Golden State. DeJounte Murray of the Atlanta Hawks. His fit next to Trae Young hasn't gone as expected. Warriors reporter Anthony Slater linked the Warriors to DeJounte Murray as a team to look out for. With that being said, let's hop on the trade machine real quick and see what we can cook up. Alright, so the trade is Chris Paul, Moses Moody, GP2, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick for DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella. GP2 is solely in this trade to make the salaries match. So for those who might say give him Corey Joseph instead, it doesn't work like that. Since Golden State is so far over the luxury tax, they either need to be sending out more salary than they're receiving, or the incoming salary has to be almost an exact match for it to work. Look, GP2 is one of my favorite Warriors of all time, but he's 30, undersized, and injury prone. I'm sorry, but having to include GP2 in a trade in order to upgrade the roster isn't going to be a deal breaker for me. Steph's almost 36 years old, man. You gotta do what you gotta do to maximize this window. You can't let your attachment to role players prevent you from improving the roster. But anyways, let me know in the comments how y'all feel about this trade. A quick overview. Murray's an athletic 6'5" combo guard with a 6'10" wingspan. He's very comfortable guarding either guard position and has enough length and defensive tenacity to even hold his own against some small forwards on the switch. He's an upgrade from CP3 defensively and provides more positional size that allows him to close games next to Steph. That's something that's hard to do with CP3, who's 38 years old and 5'11" on his best day. Golden State's just too small when you close with a Steph and CP3 backcourt. Think about it, that's a 38-year-old 5'11" point guard next to a 36-year-old 6'2" point guard defensively. And now Steph has to guard the opposing team's shooting guard. He shouldn't have to be taking on tougher defensive assignments at this point in his career. It's just not fair to Steph. Ideally, Curry should be the smallest dude on the court defensively to close games. Anyways, moving the focus back to Murray. Scoring-wise, Murray's a legit 3-level scorer, capable of creating quality looks from all 3 levels of the court. He's crafty finishing at the rim. He's slowly turned himself into one of the most prolific mid-range shooters in the league, and his 3-point shot has much improved. He's currently shooting 38% this season, a career high. He's averaged 20 points per game in each of his last 3 seasons, so he's someone else besides Steph that you can count on to score, while also being a playmaker. DeJounte provides much needed rim pressure. Besides Steph, who else on the roster can consistently beat their man off the dribble and get to the rim? Kuminga and Paz are probably your second and third best guys doing that. so having another guy that's capable of breaking down a defense is much needed. As for Capella, he's just a solid starting caliber center. Great rebounder, decent rim protector, great play finisher. He's basically a more developed version of TJD without the passing feel. Between Capella, TJD, and Draymond, the Warriors center rotation is solidified, and that bumps Looney from the rotation as well. But I got a lot of love for Looney, but he shouldn't be playing right now. He's hurting the team more than he's helping. He can't shoot, he can't finish at the rim, and he can't defend. It's tough out there for the Loon Dog. Until he's moving better, he shouldn't be on the court unless someone's in foul trouble or injured. Now, I'm not sure if this move is enough to get the Warriors back in the conversation as true title contenders, but it most definitely makes them better. How much better? We won't know until we see it. I guess we'll have to wait and see how things play out. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.